asks, don't be afraid. Your prize lies only a short distance away. Claim it.
Lee, that better not be one of those 976 numbers again.
No, of course not. Of course not. We cannot afford that. That has been discussed many times. I was just calling the late list.
All right, guys, here we're talking about the movie 976 Evil. (1988) 976 Evil. Had you seen this one before?
No, has anyone?
I believe
you?
this is a
Yeah.
relatively famous movie.
Holy shit.
I had not seen this before, but I'd seen the box many times.
Okay.
And I actually I picked
may
this
have
one
seen the
up
box,
at a flea market probably 7 years ago, and it's been on my shelf for a long time. I never watched it. And looking at the box, I always thought that was like a witch girl on the cover, and it's not. It is a gentleman.
Yes.
Yeah, but it's a fun movie. It's directed by Freddy Krueger himself.
I know. When that pops up in the beginning, I'm like, oh, that's probably how it's... Because there's not many people in this that I knew or recognized from much.
Yeah, no, not a big names, galore type of thing as we had in the past.
One of the dudes is from Fright Night, and he wears like similar weird makeup in that one, right? Something like that. But I don't even know that. I can't even front like I recognize that myself. But yeah, Robert Englund directing, right?
Yes, and like I like him. I think he's been around horror enough. He's in a majority horror movies.
He's
the man
a
knows
cool
what he's doing.
dude.
And this is a fun movie. It's kind of dated. I like that you have this. It's about a call line, as you might guess, from the 976 Evil, where you're calling for a horoscope.
Horoscope.
A
horoscope. Yeah.
I think that's a fun idea. Now there are no necessary rules that are being followed throughout the film. It's just kind of a fun thing that goes into some interesting characters. And I love the time period. I'm like a 90s guy, and this is like, it's like right there. Like,
it's right before, but yes, this is the
I know what you're saying. The late 80s are what the early 90s were,
yes.
and that is my my bread and butter.
And the late 90s are the horrible 2000s.
More or less.
There's a whole chain that goes through here. Yeah, I think you liked it more than I did. I didn't hate it necessarily, but there's I don't know. There's a lot happening or something like that.
There's definitely a lot happening,
but also not a lot happening. Where I feel like in retrospect, I'm like, oh man, what's happening with this movie? There are parts
I get what you're saying.
There are parts that I liked a lot that we will discuss in more detail. But overall, I'm gonna say I don't know about this one. I don't know if I can recommend this one, right?
I will give him my non-spoilers a recommendation. I think it's fun. It's a classic horror at this point, as we are now in the year 2020. This is retro.
It's 100 years old now.
Yeah, I love the outfits. I love the things that are happening. I think this is definitely worth a watch, especially if you're a Robert Englund fan.
Robert Englund is not in it.
No, he's not
At all.
No, he just directs it.
I know.
Yeah. And he might have another credit. It's like a Robert Englund film and directed by Robert Englund.
Sound design.
Yeah, some bullshit. But yeah, so if you've seen this or don't care, follow us over the spoilers, and if not, pull out now.
If you need a place to rent content, you better listen. We're Cannibal Video and we eat the competition.
All right, so here we are in the spoilers of 976 Evil. Yes. So Lee, you alluded to the idea that you didn't like this one that much?
I kind of hated it, yeah.
Okay. What were your points of hatred?
The fun parts are fun. I just think it takes a long time to get going. It doesn't really pay off a lot of things that it sets up. And it's kind of like even the fun part is not super well executed, but not so poorly executed that I'm having fun with how bad good it is or whatever either. It kind of just sat in the whatever, and I was like, it's okay.
So the interesting thing here, where I say there's no rules in this movie.
Yeah.
So it goes in the beginning. You see a couple of token deaths where people that have called this horoscope line. One of them just is in the telephone booth and it explodes.
You're seeing people kind of be hounded, like phones around them are ringing. And this happens a few times, like you're saying, where this is a running thing where people that have called it, into the line, they bite off more than they can chew.
It's for you. Come to us. Join us.
and then it's like pursuing them, and then it like eventually punishes them for turning their back on it.
I would have liked more exposition on that, maybe from the Star Trek doctor to say like, because like later on we see him again and like, you know, the system's all working, and maybe him to run down the rules to like the secretary, I don't know, something. Because like the dude that dies in the phone booth, and also that dude gets the craziest hang time of a death ever. Like he's clearly on a wire team, because I think he even like is flying and then like flies up again, like he zips away. But
the
like
explosion
that guy
like blows him back. Right?
That guy just dies. There's a girl who's at like, was it like Phone World or something, and like the another explosion, the glass cuts her down and kills her. So you are led to believe these are people that turn their back on it and like, you know, are not doing what they're supposed to do. But Spike turned his back on it and doesn't get killed by voodoo or whatever. And I guess it's the fact that Hoax, is that his name?
His name is Hoax. He is credited as Hoax, like it's a hoax, which, weird. So like Spike does not get punished, like you're saying.
Exactly.
And that out of town investigator guy,
Marty Palmer, Modern Miracle Magazine.
It is able to ring him up, even though I don't think he's like
never played the game,
right?
No.
He never
he
did
seems
the
to be like a good
666.
Christian or something, and gets zapped, not killed, just zapped.
Just to teach him a lesson. Just like, hey man, back off.
You're too late, Palmer.
I have no problem killing people, but back off. Okay, so like there's like a looming premise here that like this system is looking for like a willing host and participant,
and they find that in Hoax,
and it's evil, right? And like Hoax is eventually that. But yeah, like there's not enough, or there's not a thing that I go like, yes,
I was
cool.
like, is he the only person that's ever given over? Do lots of people give over? Because he seems to become like the Antichrist.
Okay.
Because it's not Hoax anymore. It's not like, oh, we polluted him with power, and now Hoax is demonic, and he's living out his dreams. He always wanted to be the tough guy. He's killing the bad guys. It has led you down this path of that is not Hoax anymore. Hoax is in there somewhere, maybe not.
That's a problem too, because they call back to, there's a scene in the locker room where Spike's beating Hoax up, or kind of like coming at him, and then he says like, there's some dialogue there.
Someday soon, you're gonna be down here and I'm gonna spit on you.
Yeah, when hell freezes over, asshole.
But then later there's like the other bookend, the mirror image of that.
Yeah, the spit on you, spit on me.
Where like he does like laser spit or something, right?
Hell finally froze over.
That kind of stuff I'm into. But yeah, he's like, I'm up here and you're down there now, right? And that whole thing. Which, if it's just a demon in Hoax's body, I don't know how he would even know that or whatever.
Yeah, maybe it steals all his memories or whatever.
They were like half each for a while, and the demon was there too or something. But yeah, they do the thing. I know Hoax is in there somewhere. Let me speak to Hoax, like that part at the end too.
But then he pulls it backwards. It's like, no, he's not, or some shit like that. I'm like, okay.
Please, Spike.
Take me with you.
Weird.
How about like the whole house? It's like full of snow and ice and shit.
Because hell froze over.
Well, that's just for that one line of hell's frozen over.
Hell finally froze over.
But then when he opens the gateway to hell, it's all fire. Like it's all in hell, you know.
So we should be clear. The house opens up, and just this endless matte painting of like a pit.
It's done decently well.
I like that. That's what I like.
Get away from me!
I like him growing claws, and like his hair
you see them
is going long.
or
Yeah, and you see that stuff. I like some of the corniness or whatever, right? But like outside, he opens another pit, but that one's all full of fire and stuff, like you said.
He starts to look more and more like Sean Whalen as it goes on.
Nice.
Like, and not in a bad way, like, where if you were to look at the picture on the back, you'd think that was Sean Whalen in makeup. Like, it looks like him.
Yeah, he reminded me of like a few other people.
No, but like overall, it goes on this interesting journey of this character Spike and his like, weird family. He's got this like perverted cousin. This like super biblical, like, aunt.
I'll recognize it. It is Satan's work, listening to filthy, sick sex talk at your age. Now, what do you have to say for yourself?
His mother and father, I guess, passed away.
Do you mean
his
Hoax is his
bike.
perverted cousin or somebody else?
Hoax is his perverted cousin.
Yeah.
Hoax is always watching him through the windows.
That's why you say perverted.
Stealing panties and doing stuff.
well, he's the super shelter with the religious mom
Yeah.
thing, and yes, Hoax is Spike's Spike's cousin. They communicate through like a tube that connects their two domiciles.
So that had me questioning so much because it might just be how things were filmed, but like eventually you do actually see the tube. It's a gigantic tube.
They're crawling on it when the pits of
Yeah.
hell opens up. Yeah, okay.
But at one point, it looks like when he's in the chair, when he's having sex with a girl and a tube comes through, which, did you know what it said? I couldn't read it.
I could not read any of them.
Okay,
so
I only
sorry.
couldn't read that one, and I didn't
But
go
the chick's
back.
like, "Fuck is this?" And he's like, "It's just
I
my
pictured it being
cousin."
like, nice tits or something like
don't
that.
know.
But anyway, when the tube comes through, and I could be wrong, I thought it came in from behind them.
Wait, here's something. What is this?
So when he was looking at them, the tube would have been this way, and I was like,
Please.
wait a minute, does that go like this, wrap all the way around the house and come back in? What powers that? Don't they need to have like constant suction?
Listen.
Is it a one-way? Because we
Please.
never see Spike use it.
Please don't worry about any of these things. It's such a strange, and I like strange things in movies.
I like
but
those tubes. I think those are really cool.
It's like a pneumatical
Yeah.
tube thing. But then, yes, he sends a fish at one point. Spike never sends anything
That would
back.
be the worst thing you could
It's-
ever do.
there's
Picture a
so-
slimy fish in a tube that you could never clean.
I'm picturing it. It's a whole thing. It's a whole thing. But then, like, yes, they are crawling on it at the end. I hate when I like debunk myself. Where I'm just
I like that it
that
was
should have been a
run
thing.
via a cable that
Yeah.
then suspended to the tube. So
Right.
I'm like, okay, that actually might be able to hold some weight.
Sure.
Like, at least
Well, okay,
better than what it
but-
was.
But we've established this too, but then it doesn't like. This is one of my major complaints. Is like Spike loses his motorcycle to like an '80s MTV band of like local gangsters or whatever.
Bring the pink slip by my office tomorrow.
They're all dressed in
Movie
weird.
theater workers, you know.
No, but
Yeah, I know what you
he has dyed hair and '80s stuff. They're obviously not MTV
Sure.
people. In the movie, they have a Dexy's Midnight Runners
They have a
look to
look.
them, or like a Boy Georgie, or like a whatever different stuff. His hair, his whole thing, or whatever. It's very dated, very time period wise.
And they're scumbags.
And they're not, but they're like whatever. I don't know if you consider them tough looking or whatever, but they have a whole. They're like beating people up the whole time. It's a whole
They're
thing.
faux tough, is what I would call
yes.
them. Like they're like
And there's
wannabe
this,
the warriors, like kind of
yes.
people.
But then that's this whole journey, which I guess arguably causes him to steal the money, which doesn't even cause Hoax to start calling there's this whole thing that's happening where I'm like, why do I know these things about these people? It doesn't matter for the story. There's no like, oh, and now we see the thing. It doesn't even matter that he's playing, that they're playing poker again later.
I'm going home.
Well, here's $20. Why don't you take a cab?
It doesn't even matter
No.
that he's playing poker when Hoax and his girlfriend go hang out because
What was the
something else
purpose of
just
trying to
happens.
scare her anyway?
What, with the spiders?
Yeah.
I don't listen. So they hang out because Spike's playing poker and he's very engrossed in that, and he's not taking care of his lady friend.
Yes.
Right. So like beta male swoops in and tries to like do his like thing or
And it works reasonably well.
it's going really well for for the lad. But that's just so we can find out that he has a spider and that she hates spiders. And then he goes home and starts using spider magic. He draws a pentagram
Yes.
on the ground. There's full of candles everywhere.
Well, there's the
I don't know.
convenience of he happened to be in Spike's room earlier where they were doing it, and he stole her panties and put
Right.
them in his back pocket, hanging out like a neckerchief, which these street toughs then go, "What's this?"
Hey, what's in your pocket, homeboy?
Oh, look what we have here.
Which, why would you ever do that? And they pull it out, and she goes, "Those are mine."
I thought you were different.
Thought you were
And
different is an
that's
award-winning
what's so
line there.
weird to
Yeah.
me is like, if you're gonna steal them and then go to find her, why are you bringing them with you? That's so weird.
Well, and like,
If things go well,
So-
why take anything that could be your downfall?
so do you think he was trying to kill her because she doesn't like him suddenly because of the panties thing?
I had to believe
Yeah.
that he was like, she hates spiders. She saw me as the hero that removed the spider. If I scare her into seeing a spider in her house, she'll call me and I'll come remove it. But
Wow.
and why would he know how this magic works? He sees like, oh, bad things are happening. Let me kill the spider. And that stops her heart dead. And I'm like,
I thought it's
he like crushed her or whatever.
Yeah, it was crazy. Yeah.
But I was like, there's no reason to believe that would happen.
Right.
I don't think that was his intention at all. I think he was solely trying to scare her like he said he was.
Okay, I'm like very confused.
Oh, it's very confusing because it's dumb.
Because I would have liked, again, that to be like he's playing with forces he doesn't understand. And like I like your explanation, but I did not get that during the movie. I was just like, because you don't see his pet spider until he tells her about the spider when she's scared of the spider at the restaurant.
And it lives in like a crab like cage
There's
or
no
something.
like, you're supposed to do a thing where she's like, stop playing with that spider, read the Bible, and he's like, Mom, and then like, and then you build it up like that and goes to.
Or he does mention like he's like, this is a daddy long legs, barely considered a spider, not poisonous at all, not like the one I have at home. And you think, oh, maybe he'll scare her and like she'll get bit and die by a poisonous tarantula, which I don't know if that's a real thing. Regardless, speaking of not real things, there's a part where he's dissecting a frog and the teacher's like, oh, looking a little green out of the gills. Ha ha ha, like pun intended or something. And I'm like, green around the gills? It's a frog. What do you mean?
May I please be excused?
What's the matter, Mr. Wilmoth? Feeling a little green around the gills? Just a frog joke.
Like, shut up.
Don't worry about it.
Little things are dumb, but I liked the world that you see in this movie. I liked these like scumbag teens in in the bathroom at one point. The guy's like wall riding and his hand is like directly under where a urinal would go, and I'm like, that's a scumbag. Like no one touches the floor below a urinal on purpose.
What is
ever.
wall riding?
He has his skateboard against the wall and he is like balancing up so that he can go up against it while his friend who is like a drug dealer is in the bathroom and comes out like, hey, you want some crank or something?
Got some crank. Yeah? Want to snort it? Of course.
Yeah, they go to some like weirdly inner city school where everything's full of graffiti and broken, and that's like that's their habitat or something. Yeah.
Well, we see the character Hoax getting a swirly at one point, where Spike comes in and like beats some ass for him.
Yes.
But it's an open door bathroom. It's like the military where it's just like a tiny divider like a urinal would have and a toilet.
Please stop. Have another drink, Coach.
And there's like 7 of them in a row, and I'm like, where is this school? What year is this school built?
I don't know where they are. One of the highlights of the movie for me is the out-of-town investigator at the diner says to the waitress, what time do they roll up the sidewalks around here?
What time do they roll the sidewalks up around here?
You ready to order?
And I never heard that saying before, and I loved it so much.
What I think is weird is that when he then bumps into Spike on the street there, he like knows who he is. He's like, I talked to your aunt earlier. And I'm like,
it's a whole thing.
I'm like, was there an introduction that I missed? Like, what happened here?
No, and like, so like the out-of-town investigator has to go talk to Robert Picardo to find the machine, to be spooked out that the machine, hey, people called this line like today.
Yeah, and you say it doesn't work for 3 months.
But the machine's, and it's covered in like Halloween store cobwebs, and it's like, oh, so what's going on here? Is it a haunted, automated voice line?
It was using up more money and electricity than I was making it call, so I shut it off.
Right?
Yeah.
Crazy. And like that's even fun going there, walking by all the doors and seeing the other call line operators and all the creepy stuff.
And how their rooms fit what they're doing.
Yeah,
like, why would that happen? You're on the phone for a reason.
Look, you called me.
Ho, 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 ho. Hello, little girl. This is Santa.
I'm a petite 17-year-old nymphette with desires most men can't satisfy.
It's a whole habitat of all these weirdos and all that stuff. So like that's a vibe. And had we done more there with with them, I would have been behind that. But that's the only function of that guy. He's not the person who's the expert in paranormal activity who's like, wait, I think it's this. I think it's the devil's phone number. And he goes in.
He came there because fish rained from the sky.
Yeah.
And I was like, why did fish rain from the sky?
Fish don't fall from the sky every night, though.
Why don't we have...
Was that God?
Yeah.
Or was that the devil? Like,
well, and like, let's say the devil made the fish fall from the sky because, it had finally found someone that would use its weird payphone line for magic, apocalypse.
Wasn't there a line?
Right?
Maybe I added it in where they said, raining from the sky of fish is a warning.
Well, so like,
and I'm like, why would the devil give you a warning? But why does the devil warn Spike? Or look both ways before you cross the street, and then immediately try to kill you.
Look both ways before crossing the street.
Fuck you!
Or maybe there should be other things like that happen. So you have
like locusts and bullshit.
Yeah, well, and those are hard to film. So think of something else. I don't know if raining fish is in the Bible either, right? But just make up some shit that happens. Stuff starts coming up out of the sink thing. Do something so that investigator is like involved multiple times. Says there's something going on with this film. Maybe he could think, oh, it's obviously Spike. It's not this weird, lame ass over here. Spike's doing devil stuff. Are you doing devil? And she's like, oh, he is. He's unhinged. He was stealing money the other night. Have a whole like plot line based around that. I feel like this movie has like almost no plot. It just like does some
it's a
stuff.
lot of interest. And I think where you don't like these weird tangents, I was like, these are weird tangents. I'm down for these weird tangents.
I like weirdness, but yeah, I want there to be like a structure or something,
There was a very loose structure, I'll say, but it had something. But ultimately, it just kind of ends. The ending of this movie, I felt was like, I'm like, oh, they were like, we gotta wrap this up. Let's hurry up.
And it's kind of like a hack job. The way it's like cut, you can tell because he's like, someone says like, I'm taking you with me or something like that.
I assumed he was gonna dive off the thing with both of them, and he was gonna go down.
And they were like intertwined as if that was gonna happen.
Yeah.
But then in like the other cut, he's just like, woo, and like rubbing himself, like, I'm glad that's over. And you're like, what? Okay. What happened?
Yeah, I expected something like either like it's like a ghost in the clouds thing of them on their bikes, like we're finally getting that ride, huh?
Oh,
yeah,
shit,
something like that.
Yeah, that would have been.
I also
weird
like
and nice.
the principal. What was the girl? Was the principal right, or what was she?
Was she someone? Because he goes to like the school and she's like, he's one of our star students. What do you mean? And yeah.
I thought the introduction of her and her following along and going through the rest of the movie, I was like, where? That was very what?
Yeah, no, that's a whole different movie where it's more about the investigator or it's more about whatever. Because they team up. Once they go back to the house, they're like saving each other.
Yeah.
And like and like Hoax is like pseudo raping the.
He's trying.
Woman. He's like, well,
his big hands.
He didn't get to do the rape, but he was attempting to rape her, right? So I'm like, there's a whole thing there where he's like, no, we just met, but I love you, and they do a whole thing and he saves her and stuff. But yeah, I don't know what happened.
When he falls off like the lattice, he's like, Hoax! Just falls.
Yeah.
Wakes up 10 minutes later. I love that kind of shit.
Yeah.
And there's a part where like he's like 1 foot off the ground and he breaks the lattice and he's like hanging by one hand. He had just got on. He's like no height at all.
And that's okay. That too, because the lattice has it's like devil root or something like that.
Yeah.
And this is what she puts in her tea. What? And then he's squeezing it onto his spider, and it does the magic spell. So I thought the vines were gonna like do a thing.
Yes,
right?
and they even like looked kind of like pointy in parts. Where I was like, oh, something that's fake. That's a thing. No,
that's a fake devil plant. That's gonna do something.
You'd think.
Yeah.
Like my mama's tea?
So something that I thought was weird was how the aunt is like yelling at Spike like, "Oh, your mom went wrong with you once you let you have that motorcycle, blah blah blah." It was her dad. It was his dad's motorcycle. So like you'd think if anybody was down with it, 'cause when he goes to get it repaired, he goes, "It's hard to get like a '59 blah blah for your other, but your dad was a good guy and he'd want to keep it original or some shit like that."
Yeah.
And then you find out her son drives a scooter, so like it's not that different.
Brian, hear my muffler?
It's a weird hypocritical thing, and I love when he crashes that scooter. I think that's so funny. Something I have to mention, the best acting potentially in the movie is the waitress at the diner. She is dead inside. She is fantastic. She reminds me of what like the closing shift waitress would be. I think that her calling as an actress, and she nailed it.
You ready to order?
Probably just a waitress.
I think so.
No, because he's
I
like,
think that was fantastic.
He's like, I need a little more time. Give me some coffee. She's like, oh, like fuck off. Yeah, it's great. Yeah.
So good.
I agree. Something I liked was, and when I say that I like corniness, you're gonna say like this is a corny thing. I liked when Hoax was like, "That's what the plastic's for, asshole."
Yes.
Like,
that's what the plastic's for, asshole.
Things like that.
I also agree with that.
That's what I wanted.
What was he eating when he shoved it behind his back and he was looking at the nudie magazine, which was really his National Geographic?
National Geographic, yeah. Something like candy bar thing, some crinkly business.
Because I was like, is that ice cream or is it a candy bar? Whatever it is, you're sitting on it now. I'm like, well, it's got plastic. You just wipe that off and it's good.
Hoax, Arthur, Wilma, you better not be eating on my sofa, boy.
I'm not, Mama.
the thing that I thought was strange is having plastic and cats. I'm like, wouldn't they just ruin it like almost immediately?
Those cats
and there's
are
like no
all-
way to fix it. You have to get a whole new one.
Those cats are all fat, declawed monsters.
I don't know if that's true.
I don't know if that's
a lot
true
of cats. A lot of cats in this movie though. Like that.
Yeah, she's like a crazy cat lady. Yeah, and so I thought they were gonna do like a John Waters movie thing where she's like a hypocrite, or there's some weird thing where she cares about her cats more than the boys, or something like that, or like something, right? Where like no one can believe that this is happening because he's supposed to be the good one and he's supposed to be the bad one, but it's just Hoax progressively morphing into a demon monster.
Yeah.
Right? There's the part where like they're beating him up in the bathroom and he suddenly starts to get the claws and then he uses them, right? And then he
wasn't expecting a face slash. You expected like a throat slash, but I guess it would have been too early. I did like it though.
Yes.
Like that would have left a pretty severe, you know, like scar. Never had a chance because he ends up like murking every one of those suckers.
Let's see if you can fucking kill me, huh? Huh? Give me your best shot.
No, that guy's there later because he has stuff on his face, right? When they're
big
doing
bandage piece.
when they're doing the poker game.
The girl he let live though, right?
That may be an oversight. So there's like they're playing, I guess, strip poker at that point because that's what they do. These weird McDoyles hanging out at the movie theater. But yeah, so he comes in. You know, Marcus, the guy, tells him, "Go out, you two, take him out." And he's looking very weird. He's looking like Michael Jackson from Thriller. And you're like, send him out, come back. Then they make this other weird thin girl strip all weird and all that.
I don't know. It spits when you rub it up and down, oh, up and down, oh, up and down.
And then they run to the roof. Hoax comes back with 2 hearts, and I can only imagine they had a good idea for this line, something about like what beats 2 hearts or something. But instead he said like, can I play with 2, or can I join the game with 2 hearts or whatever?
Yeah.
Can I buy in with 2 hearts? Like what does he say?
Some bullshit like that.
Would it be possible to enter the game with a pair of hearts?
They like fuck up the reference to the thing or whatever, and they go plop plop, the hearts fall down.
Yeah, it should have been like, I show my hand, you show your hand, you show your hand, and then he pops up because he's established to be a cartoon character. Because when on the roof, he just like springs up behind him. What are we waiting for? Or some shit like that.
Where is he?
I don't know.
Who are we waiting for?
I'm like, okay, he's a cartoon character. This is great.
And this guy was cool. He had good energy. I'm now thinking of it. He was in Moon 44. He plays Cookie in Moon 44.
Okay.
Holy crazy.
Yeah, that was a decent one.
No one, which no one has seen. Haha.
When he first comes in the room, though, already looking like a twisted animal,
Yes.
and they've already been terrified of him. He punched through the one dude's skateboard.
Go, man. Crazy. Crazy, man.
Yeah.
He slashed the guy's face, and now the two of them just in their underwear are like, "What is? Glad you're here,
Let's
idiot.
take
What do
care
you
of
want to
him."
mess?" And I'm like, "You were destroyed before when you
Yep.
were fully clothed. Now you're not as prepared."
It's a bad plan. And we have 2 off-camera deaths. Then he's terrorizing Marcus, the lead gang member guy. Cuts off his hand like the slow way, right?
Oh God, no. That's dead man's hand.
Then takes a break, says, wait a minute, fuck that. Goes to the roof to kill the, Lurch and like the little girl where like you don't see the girl die.
If she dies.
That's what I've been saying this whole time, yeah. So he may just leave her alone. He kind of like impales the guy or does something weird on some lights.
He impales
right?
him on the devil's spit of the horror movie theater there.
Like the weird... Yeah, but then he has to go back downstairs, and by then Marcus has gone to the bathroom and like covered his stump, which is just his hand, with
toilet
like several rolls of toilet paper, and it's all sopping wet with blood and everything. And then we like throughout this, there are some shots that don't look bad or look horrible, and like this is one of those where
the sweeping top
Hoax
shot
is just like it's like a top shot there. He's like banging all the doors open. It's cutting back and forth. That felt good a little bit there,
The ending of that is what I thought was awkward. Was he's killing him on the far left, and it sweeps and it finally gets to the last stall on the right, and you see his hand, which he just threw down at him on the floor on the left, and then blood comes up to the toilet, and I'm like, they have broken pipes on top of all this. Like,
I'm like, I don't know what's going on now, what's happening.
But it was a good shot, so I'll still be okay with it.
Yeah, and things like that felt good. If it was more in that vein, I would have been more into it too. If it was more just like wacky, weird deaths and everything like that. Right?
Yeah, the deaths weren't too wacky at all, really.
It's only a few too.
Yeah, like
really
you could have made the deaths with the hearts wacky had it done like a and like pulled him out because they're still beating. Like when he's holding him, you're like, okay,
they're beating
whatever.
well because he's supernatural.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That whole business of like, I make a salt pentagon and I sprinkle some fucking juice on a spider and I'm writhing with demon juice.
No, it's weird. It's weird.
Yeah.
And like, there's not enough of a like everything that I always say isn't really in the movie, is in the movie kind of, but not good enough. That's usually what I mean by that, apparently. But like, we needed more of like him going back and forth of like, I can't do that, do it, you'll get this, and then he does it, and then he's slow, back and forth.
And I can see a quick transformation because the dude's life is shit and he needs a change. But yeah, it's almost too dramatic without the path following because he wanted that girl and then he killed her and he shows no remorse for killing her. In fact, that day he just goes right back to like his life seems perfectly normal.
Oh, that's right. Oh man,
which I think is the biggest.
He goes to school the next time. Yeah. And that could be while the demon is taking hold and decide to go to school.
Maybe.
I don't know about that at all. Yeah.
Hard to say. But even our boy Spike, he's like, you killed her? Oh, and then like, you're too late for the funeral, son. And I'm like, was this the quickest funeral ever?
I'm sorry, the service was over a couple hours ago, son.
What's going on?
It was the next day and he missed it?
Yeah, like I would have liked it to have been played for comedy in a way where, like when he like he's like, Mother, I'm taking the phone and all that. And she's like, oh, and all like that.
If you value your life, you'll stand in my way or something.
Right, but I
actually like that because at that point I think his eyes have turned and like they're like catty eyes and I like that.
I gave you an order, boy. Now I want you to put that phone back.
If you value your life, I suggest you leave me alone.
And he shows up wearing sunglasses to the one thing, and they're like, why are you wearing sunglasses?
There's a crazy scene where I think it's Spike trying to get sunglasses off the handlebars of his bike, and it like takes him so long. Like there must be like wedged in there. Like
I don't recall this scene.
Babes, get him a babe. I'll see you at 7.
I'll be there.
So, last but not least, Robert Picardo's in this.
Yes.
He plays a man with a very bad cold.
Well, there it is.
And, well, I think that was to disguise his voice. I think it's actually brilliant. Where he's being investigated, the fuzz is on to me. So I'm going to put... That's probably not true.
I like that, though.
I like it, right? Because I have to inject that into the movie to be like, oh, he was throwing him off. Because I think he's the voice on the phone, right? Is that the whole thing?
My assumption going in, I was like, it'll probably be Robert Englund as the voice. But I'm like...
Did not sound like him. I had
him.
the same thought too. I'm like, is there like an effect on it where I can't recognize Robert Englund?
Yeah, but what would be your point of that? Like, if you're gonna do it and it's gonna be him, it should just be him. So it's probably not him.
Exactly. And I think he's credited with he's credited Robert Picardo with a name like Mark Evil or something like that. He has a name, whatever. Because at the end, the big ending,
that makes sense.
The big finale is that it's Robert Picardo. Mostly you can't see him. He's got like a file, and there's someone else's picture, I think, or I forget which picture is first. But
first is someone we've never seen,
right? And then he puts hoaxes up there, like okay, as if like this is an ongoing process of trying to find the anti-Messiah.
I'm sure we have something special in store for you.
This is a normal part of life.
There is a sequel to this movie.
Oh,
so they're still looking.
That's right. Okay, yeah. Because the guy that plays Spike stopped acting after 1991's 976 Evil 2. Because he's like, I can't top that, and he just quit acting completely.
Makes sense to me.
Yes.
He wasn't like an exceptional actor, but he does look like a lot of other actors.
Yes.
So like he could fit into like the Josh Brolin from like the Goonies thing, or I can't remember the guy's name from like many football bullshit movies.
Yeah, he reminded me of Taylor Kitsch, whatever. He reminded me of the Kung Fu: The Legend Continues, the Carradine Kid, right? He has that look of so many of those action guys from that time period. So yeah, at first I'm like, oh, he's the famous one in this. That's the guy. Not at all. Absolutely not. Robert Picardo, probably the most famous guy in this.
Oh yeah, I think that's certainly
a fair thing. I'm a huge fan of. So that's a bright spot to get 30 seconds from Robert Picardo. Oh, what is the nature of your medical emergency?
Please state the nature of the medical emergency.
So at the moment when Hoax takes out Spike's girlfriend, I was getting serious vibes of Stranger Things, and I was like, oh, he's the photographer kid from Stranger Things,
Jonathan.
And I'm like, it makes sense. He's taking out the hair guy's girlfriend. He's doing this thing.
Absolutely.
Oh, it's perfect. And then it cuts like when they throw him out and they're jumping on the dumpster. I was like, what the fuck are these dumpster jumping idiots? And then the door swings open. I'm like, oh, he's in there. Genius.
I thought he was in there, and that's a scene that I love. Because the whole street and the whole way it's framed and how long the shot is, that's what you're talking about. Like, this is so like a 90s like thing or whatever. I'm like, oh, yeah. That I love. That I'm really into. Yeah.
A lot of fun things like that in this movie.
Yeah.
That tube, I can't get over that fucking tube.
The tube is so strange.
I think it's so good. That reminds me of like shit like that you would see like, oh, I need some quirky little thing in my thing, and like a guy that has one of those bank tubes. It's kind of like in Psych how he has Psych how he has the thing that takes around the clothing from a dry cleaner in his house.
Oh.
I'm like, yeah, you need weird Pee Wee Herman type bullshit.
Yeah. No, this is like in the 80s, 90s, whatever. You'd have a normal movie, except like they'd have a robot making pancakes or something. They'd have some weird shit that had nothing to do with the movie. They were like, wait, what? Or,
oh, he's got a fish tank coffee table.
Yeah, there'd be something in the movie like that, some weird thing.
One of the lines that sticks out to me is when he's like, don't ever touch me again. Pass it on. After he just hacked the guy's face, he's like in the mirror with him, all fucking creepy and great.
Yeah.
And they're both just like, looking at each other through the mirror, and he says that. And I was like, that's a good scene.
Don't ever touch me again. Pass it on.
The guy has good energy. He's like manic or something, right? He's like over the top and everything, and he's a great choice to play the before and the after of this character, because he gets to really crank it up to 11 on like the oh mother sorry, and then do the same thing and like do the whole.
He has the best lines in the movie.
Yeah, of course.
It's what the Plastics 4 asshole is probably the best line in the movie. You know what? A question I have for you, and maybe I just missed it. I miss things sometimes.
I'm ready.
Where did Spike get that gun?
Gun?
He shoots Hoax in the face with a gun.
Oh, he does, yeah.
Where did that gun come from? And it's a weird, it looks like a tattoo gun. Like, it's this freakishly small, homemade looking weapon.
Don't you think it's time we ended this hoax?
And I was like, what is that and where did it come from? If you know, please tell me in the comments.
I don't recall them showing off him getting a gun. He just seems like a guy that has a gun, though. He has a leather jacket. He must have a gun.
It looked so weird that I was like, is there an explanation about somebody building something? Did he steal something from the science fair that can like shoot once? Like, it looked so weird, like a tiny metal squirt gun or something that then shoots, Hoax once in his cheek and just like blows off some cheek juice.
Armageddon this, cousin.
And he's just cool with it, yeah.
Well, he's like a demon at that point. I'm like, what kills a demon? Putting them in hell? Aren't they from hell? I don't know.
It seems to work, though. It seals
right
up.
It does work.
No, that gun should have been a gun that the special investigator had that was like a demon-killing gun. Because he doesn't really investigate fish. He's here to investigate the next occurrence of the phenomena of Robert Picardo spreading the Antichrist or whatever.
I would prefer that, actually.
That would be a movie.
Because I would have liked to have seen some of the headlines and things from the magazine or whatever he works for. Because, fish rain from the sky. And, who called him? Because only 3 people knew up until that point. And, Hoax told, somebody to not bully him because God's on his side. And, that fucking Spike didn't tell anyone because that's embarrassing, stupid shit. So did his mom, call, we got Jesus here?
She might have, but I think when he comes to the door, she's like, who the fuck are you?
That's what I thought.
So there's no one left to
But I guess
call.
you also wouldn't know who somebody was until they introduced themselves.
That's true.
But,
yes. And he says, what publication he's with, and she kind of goes, that's what I was waiting for, where he says he's a private investigator at some point, but I don't know if that disqualifies him from working for the, religious magazine or something like that. He might just be the title that he has, right?
Yeah.
But, I was expecting him to be like, oh, no, I heard about the fish, and I'm here, and I'm lying, and I know that she likes this magazine. I'm really here for the demons. Are you with me? And Spike's like, we gotta save him. He's my cousin. And then they fucking
yeah, because they don't even have a we're all on the same page moment.
No.
They just happen to be oh, we're all on the same page. We're having the moment.
Right. It's all just simpatico. We're here and we know what to do. Apparently, he's obviously a demon from hell.
And I didn't see Spike smashes a window with a table to get in, and I was like, was that table outside? Where did that come from? It looks
carrying a table
it looks
around
like a
your back
coffee
pocket.
table. One of those tiny little next to my chair tables. I'm like, all right. Got your shit. I love that the cats eat the lady. I think that's great.
Yeah.
Pull back, they're like, Miss, I've already walked through your house. It's covered in snow, but I'm still going, are you okay?
I forgot about that whole scene, yes, where the cat's like in her or something.
Yeah.
Are you all right?
That's what cats would do.
Well, yeah.
Cats don't give a fuck.
But it was like day one.
No, it's like hours later.
Yeah.
But those cats probably very hungry because she doesn't know how much to feed a cat. I'm making shit up.
It's possible.
And a special prayer today for all of those starving pussies all over the world. Amen. Well, look at my little greedy guts eating up. There you go, little baby square.
At one point, after that date, and the girl's dead. She's already dead. He knows she's dead. Hoax goes, I took care of your girl last night, as if he's trying to be like, oh yeah, but really he took care of her. He killed her.
I took that line to be, I murdered your girlfriend. I think he meant it, or it was meant that when you were busy winning all that money, I was talking to your girlfriend.
That's what he
insane,
meant it as.
Which is equally insane.
Which I'm like, but then you're about to admit that you murdered her. So I don't understand.
Well, I'll take care of him just like I did with your chick last night.
And like the way the phone call is phrased, it's like, you'll get your dream girl if you go out to the late night movie or something like that. So like he like loves this girl, at least in passing, or at least wants her in some respect. And then murders her, and he's totally fine with it. And I'm like, that's very, very interesting.
Yeah, stuff like, I like a lot of weird stuff. And there are certain movies where the weirdness is so weird and so separated that it kind of rises above the thing, and like I no longer want there to be like a beginning, a middle, and end and all that. So it's whatever. If there's cool enough, like effects or charismatic enough characters, right? It's whatever. I did like our main dude here, but in general, I did not like. It was not enough for me, these outlandish departures and stuff. I think that there's stuff you could have done to have pushed it a little farther in certain places that that I would have liked it more and had more fun with it. Right?
I would agree. You could have ramped it up a little harder. While certain characters were turned up pretty high, I think on the whole I could have cranked up a little bit harder and been fine with it and not affected the movie itself. I think I feel a little bit differently, where I do think this disjointed weird thing is fun for me. I do think that these characters are ridiculous. While they might not be ridiculous enough, they're not quite cuckoo bananas characters. They're like, you're like the weirdest character that could exist in the world most of the time. But I think if we went a little bit harder and made things like oh, it's candy and colored deliciously, and what the hell is this? Because like. And by that I just mean the most fantastical version of what you have here. I think the color itself is actually great. I love the color grading of
the look is actually really good.
Late 80s, early 90s things. I think that's awesome.
It feels real. It feels like the first Terminator when the kid's putting ice cream in her in her pocket or something, right? I like that old, like you say, the old look of things.
When she says something like, "These are God's fishes."
These are God's fishes.
I was like, this movie's great.
Yeah, I was on that train for a bit. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think like my closing thoughts on this are like, yes, it's certainly not a great movie. It's a little slow, but I think what it does display, if you're a person that can tolerate like a slow burn of a movie, that doesn't have a great payoff. So like I know this sounds like a very hard sell here. I think it's a very fun movie. That's not a great movie. It's a great collection of scenes.
Okay, I think that first 40 minutes is kind of rough, like you're saying, and yes, like it's just a like an aesthetic thing or like a taste thing at this point where it didn't quite work for me. I understand why it worked for you.
It is more John Watersy, and that is not your wheelhouse. I think that was a decent comparison with how these characters are so
even like a hyper-religious thing or whatever, doing even like more of it, right? But I see how it could have worked for somebody else. I think that's fine. So whatever.
I think it's refreshing because you don't see things like this anymore, and probably for a reason, because like they're not great. But.
Damn. You keep doing that.
So like I'm not trying to backhandedly compliment this movie. I legitimately enjoyed the film. I thought it was fun, and I like the period it was filmed in. And movies like this are not made anymore. I think you can't sink the amount of money they put into these things for a movie that doesn't have a plot or a direct marketable audience. While this is very vague or broad, I think that's the strength it has, is that it is such a, like, what am I watching? What audience is this going for? Who is this? That character's ridiculous. This plot's ludicrous. It doesn't really kind of end. Why did that character do these things? Like, it's not the same B-movie badness that you'd be with a group of friends constantly saying, what the fuck?
Like everything's just like poorly done, executed.
But definitely things could get, you could sit around and you could spitball and make this a much more concise, awesome movie, but I think that would change the experience of what it is.
I think I do a thing where I kind of say, like, is this movie better than any of the other ones at doing anything? And if not, I'm like, no. If I already have stuff that is outlandish or weird or of this time or better in some other way, I'm just like, there's no room for this. It doesn't make the cut. Something like that.
I get what you're saying here. I think my point would be that there aren't enough things like where it's like okay, this beats that, but there's only like 20 in that whole category. So like it would be like people that bought this also bought that. So if you like weird, outlandish, off the wall types of movies and you've seen them all, this is the next thing you'd watch.
So you have room in your whatever.
Exactly.
For 976 Evil. Should we watch the second one?
Eventually.
We're committed.
We're committed. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Let us know in the comments what you thought about it. Don't die in a fire, and we'll see you next time.
If you want to support the show, head over to cannibalvideo.com, pick up some merch.
And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button.
That's all right.
Yeah, that's something.
Whatever.
Fuck these motherfuckers.
Bye-bye.
Cannibal Video has everything you need. A wide array of VHS and DVDs. We ate the competition, now it's only us. Our expert staff opinion